This is Nota. My handles are at La Vida Nota, the life of Nota, and I'm from Urbantainment. That's the company I founded.
Hey, it's Kellen, y'all, and today on Diversified Game, this is a recommendation from Miss Khadija. You saw Khadija on some past episodes not too long ago, and she said, "You know what? You got to talk to Nota because he is a character, always has an opinion, and between Nota and I, there's something behind the scenes. I'm going to ask him." Off the air about him and his influencing because he has a lot of opinions. They make sense, and they keep him, trending and going up what people call viral nowadays, whatever that means to you. So Nota, welcome to the show. South Africa's Puff Daddy, man. Welcome.
Yeah, I had to find some South African vibes here, so I'm sitting in the park. My hometown, my home city in Johannesburg is the world's largest man-made forest, by the way.
Okay. Sabona to everybody, or Molo, everybody in South Africa who's listening, whatnot. Nota,
Yeah.
tell the people briefly before they try to Google you and say, "Oh, let me see everything that this man has said," and maybe you ruffle some feathers in the. But who cares about that? You started off, you wanted to be a rapper. Now you're more behind the scenes. What are you doing in Babylon, in New York? Are you recruiting talent right now? Are you doing auditions? What's going on in New York with you?
Well, a lot of stuff. I'm creating content, you know. I'm also learning. I'm going to a whole lot of workshops, a whole lot of seminars, um, a whole lot of, museums, learning about, world culture and how it's, intertwined with everything that makes the city great, is that it borrows so many cultures from all over the world, and so many people from all over the world come here to do business. And yeah, that's what it is. I've come here to learn.
Come here to learn. Now, that's a beautiful thing. And, many people see folks in America, many people see folks, you're in an international city and you're vibing out, you're able to relax. You do realize in America, most people only have like 2 weeks out of the year that they have for a vacation, and they call everywhere else, like Africa, countries in Europe, they'll say, "Oh, Czechoslovakia, these people are living in the second and third world," but we're the ones running on the race, not stopping. So, like when you see Americans and you see everybody work, 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 and little play, 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 there's no bra. For a long time, the bra is get in and get out. What's your vibe of America thus far?
Well, I mean, it's quite an inspiring place. Um, Most of the people that I've met from here have been on my travels, and most of those people are volunteers. So, like, you're most likely to either bump into Americans that are serving in the military or that are volunteers somewhere in the world outside of America. And to actually see the working Americans that contribute to all of that, the ones that pay the taxes, do the normal jobs, the 9 to 5ers, the people that work at the retail or make coffee for people or the small businesses, actually seeing how this country works and is able to support its expansion all around the world, um, gives you a different perspective, I guess, on who the American people are and what they're about. And yeah, that's the one difference that one can experience when one is able to travel here and observe the lifestyles of Americans.
Now, for a teaching moment for that young South African, or maybe that just young African who sees you and says, "Oh man, I always wanted to fall bush. I wanted to go see America." Um, you know, how do I make that happen? Because let me tell you, people, it's not just he decided to go one day. There was some planning. There was a purpose for coming to Babylon. But how do you make it happen?
Or
Being what
Gotham.
that Yeah, I got them. It's all of that, right? It can be all those things. How do you make that happen and, keep it going for that 14-year-old who's listening, some encouraging advice because somebody in his family is probably telling him, stop dreaming. Just focus on school.
Yeah, I think the easiest way for someone to make it here is through school. Like most of the people that I met here are students. But also um, most of those students are rich kids. Let's be honest. Uh, I don't know anyone that comes from my situation um, back home that has made it here of their own volition. So I had to work for over a decade and a half, build up a business, a very successful business, the most successful business in its sector in South Africa. And that's the only reason why I was able to, have the resources to come here, have the networks and the connections to come here. I had to be the best of the very best in my own country to be among the rest here. So anyone who's dreaming of being here needs to aspire to that level of excellence. You need to have completely unrivaled success in whatever it is that you're doing. If you're a baseball player, a soccer player, a football player, whatever it is, you have to be the very best from wherever you are. And that's the reality of it. Unfortunately, this place is very expensive and the barriers to entry are really high. And unless your parents are really rich, you stand no real chance of making it here.
Well, even to get here, talk about stand no chance. You are a music executive. When people hear that, they say, "Oh, I want to do that," not knowing what it entails, not knowing the sacrifice that you had to put up, not understanding, the amounts of rand that you're betting on an artist to get your money back, and hopefully you make double or 10x it. Can you talk about that day to day of being a music exec in South Africa and globally? Because now you're in New York and you have survived. So you know what they say about New York: if you can survive there, and the quote goes on. But what day to day do you do as a music exec? And also for that young person listening, what skills should they hone and get on the way to try to get the success that you have right now?
Yeah, so I think the day to day is that you need to be a good listener and a good observer. You need to be able to observe culture. You need to observe people's interaction with culture, and you need to be able to see where it's going. So you need to be able to spot trends before they emerge and before they become obvious to everybody else. And that's how you make money. If you are able to spot the trends before they materialize, and then you are able to commercialize that or monetize that, you're going to be making money, while you have that advantage. And then while people catch up to you, you then need to be on the lookout for what's the next emerging trends. And then you need to be one of the first movers in that space and constantly changing. So the day to day for an executive is constantly changing. The demands are very different. I mean, we're in the world of virality right now, and it takes a lot of discernment to see whether something that's viral is something that can be sustainable or is something that is an opportunity that can be cashed in on in the moment. And the trade-offs that one has to, deal with trying to, catch either lightning in a jar or do something that is so spectacular that it has a long-lasting and memorable effect on the culture is that it's more difficult to catch lightning in a jar. And when you're looking to catch lightning in a jar, you need to be constantly catching lightning in a jar. Whereas if you can have something that you are part of that moves the culture in a certain way and becomes a time capsule for an era or a certain place in time, then you can use that forever, for as long as possible. Look at hip hop now. That first 1973 Cedric Avenue um, party in the Bronx has is a time capsule of where American and New York culture was at that point in time. in 1973, and people keep referring back to it. I mean, it's been 50 years that people have been referring back to that as the origin of hip hop culture today. And we're seeing how they're still able to cash in on the cachet that was created in that historic moment, because it was a change and a shift in the culture that was so universal, that everyone recognizes it, no matter where it is or how it's framed, you know.
Mhm. Now, when you hear a sound, and you're hearing more African music globally, but especially on American radio than ever before, because the rest of the world, through even world radio back in the day, you could hear an Akala, and right after you could hear a Sauce Kid or a Whiz Kid, the original. But you're hearing so much, African music now being played in America. When you hear something, is it something that you just know it when you know it, like that's going to be a hit and I need to jump on that and invest in it? Or do you have like a tier system and say, okay, the music sounds great, the entertainer is ready, and they've done their homework? Like what is your system of finding that next great hit?
Yeah, well, I don't have a system anymore. Like, it's at the time now where, especially people in my position, need to abandon the arrogance that we used to have, because we dictated what was in the media in the past. So, in the past, we determine how many radio spins a certain song gets. You either pay the radio station for advertising, they give you a couple slots for the songs that you're promoting, and then those slots are then used to basically brainwash people into liking or loving a song, and they've got no other options. Whereas today they've got all these options, and they're more in tuned to liking what people they know are liking, what their friends are liking, and people that they consider cool are liking. So influential people. And the circle of influence is, narrowing nowadays. People are more closely influenced by people within their close circle, people they speak to on a daily basis. So if you're in your family WhatsApp group and everyone in your family is liking a particular song, you're more likely to like that than something that you're just seeing on social media that is being promoted by an influencer who you're completely unfamiliar with. So once certain influential people have uh, um, are held in a certain reverence and become intimate with people, they then act like family members who are nudging people onto the latest trends. And you need to be observant of that and need to be able to tell the gap between something that is, a passing trend or something that can be sustained and monetizable and expanded upon. And that's where the business opportunity lies. It's not really about your own taste that determines whether something is successful or not. It's about the collective taste of the market at that point in time.
Well, artists take note, because one thing, we have try to have this be a teachable moment, so people don't try to flood, DMs and say, put me on. But that happens every day. Artists, hey, if you made
Mm-hmm.
one hit, you can make another. I'm a star. I have good music. Isn't that enough? And I tell people, no, it's not enough, especially when you don't have money and you don't have a plan half the time. When dealing with artists, how do you like them to pitch you so people know not to waste their time, doing it the wrong way? How do you like to be pitched?
I don't like to be pitched at all. Like, I don't like artists approaching me. I think artists should wait to be approached. They should be making content. We're in a content business, and it's so easy to make content and share content and build an audience. And artists just need to be consistent with dropping that content and building an audience. And then soon enough, the people that are interested parties, the people that are invested in exploiting, the culture and ensuring that it's monetizable and commercially viable, they are the ones that are going to follow on. They're the ones that are watching everything, and they're the ones that will get in contact with you. Think about it like this. If you go out with a begging bowl, people are going to give you the minimum possible, right? The minimum possible that they can spare. Do you have any change? You know what I mean? And then you search your pockets, you see if you've got $1. And if you got $1, you'll give it away. But if you got a $20 in your pocket, you're not giving anything, right? Because people are inclined when someone is asking for something that they give the minimum possible. But when people are approaching you, you can charge the maximum possible.
Gotcha,
So
gotcha.
build that value with yourself. Share the content, build an audience, and once you've got an audience, at least you've got an audience. You know what I mean? Whether or not I like you, whatever you've got people that are supporting you, and that's all you need to be able to prove in this market.
Got you. And folks will see your stuff and say, "Hey, Kellen, say something controversial so we can, have something to share to our friends." But this is the stuff that you guys need to listen to because this is somebody who's done it. He's giving you jewels. He's giving you jewels that don't approach, just work. Put in the work and build it and they will come. That's an old movie quote. Tell
Yeah,
the people. Yeah, tell the people, with success and whatever that is for everybody differs, but everybody has something that they want to bring to this world. What is a community give back that you're doing or that you would like to do? And if there's a way for someone out there who's listening to join you in that give back, please let that be known. Because I get that question every day. What can I do in this part of Africa? What can I do with artists, entertainment? So, what is your give back?
sure. That's a lot. I mean, sharing my experience, sharing my unique knowledge. The job that I've done is a job that, cannot be replicated. The experiences that I've had and the trials and tribulations that I've been through, it's not an experience that can be replicated. So the best thing I can do is ensure that people are able to, learn from it, even though they don't have my lived experience of going through it. And therefore, my duty right now is to share it as honestly as possible so that, even though they get a third person perspective on where I come from and what I've been able to do, they're then able to stand on my shoulders per se and use the knowledge that I've been able to share to help them, maneuver and navigate this world with better perspective and more insight. So that's the thing that I'm really big on, teaching people and having them learn from what I've learned. And yeah, I think that's the most important thing. And I'm teaching as I'm doing, as I'm learning, I'm also constantly learning. So just as much as I try to be someone that can teach people, I also try to learn from people as much as possible.
Now, talk about teaching. Have you started writing the book? Are some of the pages done in the book? So, people who can be in their libraries, be in there, they have to read something for school. They can say, I read this book. Have you started yet? And if so, when do you think the completion will be? Because it won't be one book. It'll be a series.
Yeah, that's the thing. I've drawn up a bit of the book, like I've given it a bit of a structure as well. But I haven't had the time. I thought I'd have this year to really get into writing, but New York is just, such a hustle. You don't really have time to do anything other than keeping your head above the water.
Mhm.
Um, so that was the first thing that I needed to do. I needed to get my head above the water, figure things out. And also, it's giving me a lot of material that I still also want to add to the book. So I feel like maybe the announcement of me working on it was a little bit premature. Um, I've learned so many more things that I still want to share in the first book, especially from my experience here. And it's very different from experiences that one has. I mean, we was speaking prior in preparation to this, and I was telling you that I believe that if anything were to happen, like some sort of calamity, I believe that like New York would be like one of the last cities standing. And the reason I believe that is like even something like a Dwayne Reed or a CVS or like now the now newly bankrupt Rite Aid, you know, as much as you can see them all over New York, there's still a lot more family owned, individual owned pharmacies and drugstores and little restaurants. It's not these big corporations that are everywhere and they own everything. So if one of them goes bankrupt, a whole lot of people are losing their jobs or losing work. There's still the small businesses, the mom and pop shops, and that's what makes this place. Oh, I think my do not disturb is expiring, but that's what makes this place, so resilient. So many people are able to, derive a living from being here in various ways, and they don't need to be part of some big conglomerate or corporation to be able to do that. Whereas in other places in smaller towns, they rely on one single business, that hires everyone. In Detroit, General Motors hires almost everyone, or the motor companies, they hire almost everyone. And when the motor companies are not making money or, they're downsizing, you can see how the entire city starts to fall apart. You know what I mean? The entire state starts to fall apart as well. Um, and you see that in different places in Africa, back home, where when you look at certain countries and certain states, they've got either a certain resource that they specialize in or that they've got an advantage in, they've got more than anything else. And once that resource has been mined out, the entire country's economy starts then to falter. And you don't have the smaller businesses, the smaller tradesmen that are being encouraged to pursue business and keep a local economy alive as well. And those are things that I guess one likes about being in this environment. And one thinks is good to try and replicate in other places in the world. You know, um, Getting more individuals who are either uh, experts in a certain trade craft, to be able to pursue uh, their passion and create something, whether it be a product or a service that they can sell themselves without having to sell their time to a corporation that then, itemizes their job and put them in a factory production line.
Gotcha, gotcha. Tell me, while you enjoy your time in New York, where else in the States are you plan to go from here? And are there any showcases that you'll be attending, in any speaking that you'll be attending, anything that you want to shout out and let the people know that they need to have their ear out on the street for?
Yeah. I mean, um, I'm not doing much speaking. I'm doing more attending of trade shows, attending of talks. I'll do the speaking possibly next year. I'm still in the learning phase, and I think that's also very important when you're entering a new market. Is take the time to learn. Um, Take the time to learn so that when you're iterating and you're trying new things and you're experimenting, you come from, you know, a position of some knowledge of what you're trying to get done. Whereas if you're experimenting and you haven't done the learning prior, it can get really costly and you can run low on resources, and that might, affect how long you're able to do something or how effectively you're able to pursue it. So right now, my focus is on learning, trading as many trade shows, etc., etc. If you follow me on social media and you're doing something and you'd like me to come and check it out, attend, you know what I mean? Send me a DM, comment on my post on Instagram. Let's get in touch. Let's get in contact. And yeah, I'll try and show up. I've been between New York and DC or the DMV area a lot. I've also traveled to Texas. There's a lot happening, especially in cities like Austin as well. Um, from the live entertainment scene, live music scene, they're very big on that. I think it's one of the cities with the most live music venues in the world. So I'll also be traveling there a lot. And yeah, hopefully soon to Seattle. I hear there's a very big African music festival that started a couple years ago. I
If it
forgot what it's
started,
called.
if it was after COVID, I'm not sure. But living in Seattle, there's always festivals going on. But I can say that as far as an African music festival, it's not the. I would run to Houston before, or DC before I run to Seattle. Seattle is beautiful in the summer and it has a lot of culture. But when you get to that part of the country, what you run into is people, everybody has a master's degree, so everybody will let you know how smart they are. I have one too, so I'm one of those, right? But black people, when it comes to black people, you have a minority who actually, I think, like black people. The masses have assimilated so much to that they're in the Get Out. If you've ever seen that movie, you're gonna have to flash them, and it's to the point. I'll give you an example. I'm a date doctor. For couples I've hooked up married, right? You always got to come back for your checkups though if you want to stay married. Marriage is hard. But I've hooked people up
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
black with black people, and people, I've had men say from Alabama, "Hey man, I didn't come out here for that. I came out here for something else, and they're not looking like it's also a very cold place. Take out the black, white, and Asian and everything else. They call it Seattle freeze for a reason. People have a hard time connecting, and they even have a hard time looking you in your eye and talking to you. But it's because it's very techy, and probably a lot of the people, let me not say most, but a lot of the people are on the spectrum. And if you're an introvert, it's a great place to be. For those of us who are more extroverted, we go there, we learn about it, and then I did 6 years, like it was a sentence, right? I did 6 years, and I'm not rushing back. I learned a lot in business. There's a lot of money out there. You do startup week in Seattle, you're gonna find a deal if you got a halfway decent plan. Somebody will offer you some money. Now, whether you should take it, call me. I'll consult with you and let you know, people. But I love that you're traveling because I had a friend, Tafuma, owner of Mula VIP Rentals in South Africa. And he did the same thing in his
Hmm.
business when he went back home, sprouted, and he can get everything from planes, trains, and the fanciest automobiles in South Africa. So I love that, the tour. And, when you come check out South Florida, you'll let me know because South Florida, there's it's beautiful here when it gets cold everywhere else. But I want the people to really be able to connect with you and take your words, and I want them to Google you because, as you've seen, I'm not asking you any questions that you've been asked anywhere else that I've seen. We ain't doing that, and I want them to go. I want them to go check you out. So you let the people know where they can find you, follow you, and connect. But artists, remember, don't pitch him. He'll holler at you if he's interested.
Yeah, just follow my contact my content on YouTube, I guess. If you just search Nota interviews or whatever podcast with Nota, and then just watch all the content because there's little gems that are dropped in everyone. I think that's the best way. And then you'll know the right questions to ask when you finally get an opportunity to have a conversation, or you'll know what you want to get out of me. I think that's the best thing. It's like, you're gonna ask me questions, you need to know what you want to get out of me. It's like, okay, this is what I want, you know, how do I get that? And then it's direct. That's pretty simple. I'll be coming to Florida on the 19th. So I'll arrange with you. That's not this coming Sunday, 2 Sundays from now, right? Um, I'll let you know where we could meet as well. And yeah, uh, I look forward to meeting electronically a lot of your audience and engaging with them and finding out more about them and where else, they've seen my content or, engage with me maybe, and how we could take the conversations further.
You have been blessed by the game. Now it's your time and your turn to like this game. Helps with the algorithm. Subscribe to it. I know majority of you are listening, but even go over to the YouTube and you can do that. Push those numbers up. And also, more importantly than anything else, share this game with somebody. It will change their life, y'all. Y'all be blessed.
Hi everyone. Have you ever been curious about visiting Africa? Which African country were you interested in? Kenya, Nigeria, Uganda, South Africa, Ethiopia? Which country are you interested in? My good friend, Kellen Cash Coleman, came up with a course called My First Trip to Africa that'll guide you through this process. It's only $20, and in this course you'll learn about passports, visas, vaccinations that you need before you go there, as well as a budget, how much the trip is going to cost. He also talks about what you should pack, what you should take with you, how you should travel on a budget. Did you know that $100 is worth 1,000 South African rand and over 10,000 Kenyan shillings? So imagine what you can do with $100 back home. I say back home because I'm from Sudan, I'm African, I already know how it's like. I know that, when you convert Canadian and American money, it goes a long way when you're traveling across Africa. So if you're curious, if Africa is a place that you've always wanted to go, always wanted to move there, Kellen Cash is the person to ask. Check out the course. There's a little preview you can listen to before you actually purchase it. If you're interested in this course, visit www.diversifiedgame.com. Don't miss out.
Are you tired of the rat race in America? Are you ready to visit the motherland to relax and rejuvenate? Are you ready to explore all that Africa has to offer? Then check out the brand new Diversified Game Academy course, Prepare for My First Trip to Africa. Are you worried about being able to afford the trip? We got you. We will show you how to travel either on a budget or as a baller. Learn how to stress the value of the USD. Did you know that 100 United States dollars is worth over 1,000 South African rand or 10,000 Kenyan shillings or 54,250 West African CFA? Are you worried about taking your kids? Get the game from Kellen Cash, a bona fide world traveler, having traveled to almost 20 countries, several of those in Africa. Get the game on taking your kids on their first trips. Learn how to find the best tickets, get the visas, and plan your own adventures in Africa. Don't let Eddie Murphy have all the fun. Plan your own coming to Africa trip starring you, produced by you, and featuring you. If you are ready for a life-changing experience, sign up for our course today, Diversified Game Academy. Get prepared and purchase at diversifiedgame.com.